amazing to hear from everybody. And I just want to say to Gwen as well, I mean, the background of the people here, there's a few psychology students, there's a student of physics, the human sciences, public health and business. And so there's a range of skills. And a little introduction to everybody concerning Gwen. I've known Gwen for maybe 3-4 years, I believe. And we met through an organization called United People Global. But when I first met Gwen, it was in the British Library, and she had just come to the UK to start her studies of her first master's. And the journey went from a few interactions that we had from there. But as we were working, I mean, I learned about the incredible work which Gwen does whilst as a master's student. She was also leading her organization, the Peace Messengers, and working for several different charities as a trustee. So always impressed by how she balances these things. And I guess the summary would be, Gwen, the last time I saw you was in London for your graduation. And I think the next time we spoke, you'd already told me you'd started another postgraduate course at Winchester. And I think you've now finished that. And you are working with the ministry in Liberia. So it's a huge pleasure to have you here. And I'm going to hand it over to you to talk about some of your work and then open it up for people to engage. And Becca lives in Winchester, beautiful.
Okay, so hello everybody, and I'm really honored and humbled to engage with you, especially today is a holiday in my country, but I'm at work because this is important. So I had to drive and come over to office to make sure we have this. It's a public holiday. Okay, so I really want to start out by saying thank you to Theo. And what am I saying thank you to him? It's because, you know, those little things that we take for granted, they are actually the very important ones in our lives for us to be able to cherish. A young woman coming from a post-conflict country went to the United Kingdom to study, and it wasn't that all easy, but I'm really grateful for support system, and through our same global network, I got in contact with Theo. And I can say my entire time of studying at City University of London, Theo was really very much supportive, making me to understand, especially navigating around systems, because I schooled mostly in the United States. So it was really kind of a little bit strange as well, knowing and adapting to the system, the British system as well. But then having him as a strong support system, I really want to say thank you to this minor. I know I've always said thank you, but those little things really important to people to always recognize. So I'm really grateful, and I can't stop telling you how grateful I am for making me to understand those tips and tricks that I needed to understand to make sure that I completed 2 masters in the United Kingdom. Thank you. I'm grateful. Okay, so now to what exactly, I mean, I've been asked to talk about today my work and what I do, and I understand the nature of what you actually working on. I don't know if Theo shared the link as well from my office. They put up this social media advisory as well today to make people to know what's happening. So those little things we always try to do as part of partnership. You might be doing this and trying to work on, but it's my own way from my organization standpoint to make the rest of the entire world to know what's happening with you as well. And that's something I tell you, even from the social media pop-up, we've been able to reach up to 10,000 persons that saw that post. And that is something I want you to know, like 10,000 persons already know what you're doing, especially from your initiative today. So yes, I run a nonprofit in Liberia called the Messengers of Peace. And Messengers of Peace is a non-for-profit. It's a youth-led voluntary organization. And this is an organization that at the moment we're managing up to 1,500 young people who are known as what we call volunteer peace messengers. So 1,500 plus young people are the ones we manage on a daily basis through our different programs and initiatives. And it's all centered around the youth peace and security agenda. The whole concept and background behind why Messengers of Peace came into formation is the fact that we cannot talk about any sustainable peace agenda if we do not have young people who are actively and meaningfully contributing to peace and security around the global village. And we say that if you use young people to foment violence, of course, the same young people can be used to bring about peace and development. So why not just use them to do all the terrible things, influence them? I mean, whether it's from politics to whatever, we're also saying you can as well get young people to do constructive things that will bring change to local communities, that will bring change to their own surrounding, and as well at national and global levels. So that's what the basis of the formation of Messengers of Peace is about, why we founded this nonprofit. And as we speak, we have been into active operation for 12 good years now. So just last year, Messengers of Peace turned 12 years of active operation running a non-for-profit. And why we say this, because it serves as an inspiration to a lot of even global partners, because this work is not an easy work, I must tell you, but it comes back with the determination and how focused and how you want to bring about change. And the very foundation of Messengers of Peace is on volunteerism. And volunteerism is a very major component of the work we do. Because my entire background of my story as a young woman, promising young woman in this country, is actually from a family background of how we've been able to do stuff in communities, always wanting to be of helping hand to people and not expecting anything in return. So when you go into volunteerism, it's where you give in, and there's nothing that I always tell people, I don't know what is it can replace the joy and the satisfaction you get just from volunteering. No amount of monetary value can replace that inner satisfaction of what it means to just be a volunteer and be able to change situation and help your communities to be better. And so if I tell you for the 1,500 young people, we started off with just 10, 15, and we've grown into a database of 1,500 plus young people, then it's something that is telling you that it's resonating with young people, and it's a powerful component of how we can bring about change. It's a medium to really effect change in any given society. So what we do our normal advocacy at the Messengers of Peace. Our strength is really in advocacy for peace and development. So whether it's at local level, it's at national level, it's at global level. So whatever way we can influence global agenda. So we work closely with all of the different international partners, and as well from the national level, been fully recognized by our government, and as well other strategic partners as well, and international partners in country. I think we can say that and give it up to the number of years we've been doing this. It also comes back to consistency. And it's something really important. When you get started with something, people probably take it for joke. I'm telling you that a lot of talks I got, hey, what is it you're doing this for? There's no future in this for you as a young woman. But today, I always say this, all of those different feedbacks and everything we got, I see it as something as it was a building block. Because the negative comments sometimes you get is the fact that people pushing you to do something great. So I don't usually see negative comments of people telling you, hey, I don't think, I'm doubting you can do this. You see that as something, as an inspiration to push and say, I can do this and I can make this happen. So with all those feedbacks, even from family, friends, you're such a smart, intelligent young woman. People told me, why can't you go and do something? Because my undergrad was in biology and chemistry. And people told me, why can't you just go and be a doctor? And I was actually doing biology and chemistry because my family and everybody wanted me to be this medical doctor, because they felt that you were so smart, you were so intelligent, you can take all those grades and go and do what you want to do. But honestly, it's something I've been quoted for. I respectfully decline. And it's important for us to know that as young people, where we say it's not just about parents, our guardians, or people who support us on this journey to say do something, but we should be able to respectfully decline things that are not aligning with our own virtues, our own belief and principles that we have. And I'm saying this to say respectfully because I'm also someone who supports culture of peace. I can't talk about peace building and do not respect culture. And that culture has to do with respect for our own traditions and everything. So even if we're talking to elders or mentors, we need to be respectful how we decline, but be very bold as well when you're declining. That, hey, This is something I want to do. This is my journey. I think I understand how I can be able to bring about change. And today, everyone who said this is not something that they could see to be meaningful for me to do, because of the consistency and how I really took that as an encouragement to keep pushing, everyone who said that, the very people coming back to me and say, great job. You told us you were going to do this. I made it to Times Magazine, top 8 young reformers across the globe shaping the world, just when I was in the UK 2019, doing my master's. That is not something that would just happen if it were not just consistency. Because you all know that Times Magazine is not an easy deal. To pick you up is something I really didn't see coming, because it was like that consistency really encouraged and motivated people to say, hey, what is it? A young woman who was just championing peace from local level to national level and as well the global level. I did the first ever official address to the United Nations Peacebuilding Commission in New York, convincing United Nations Peacebuilding Commission as well for Security Council to adopt the first ever resolution on young people involvement in peace and security in 2015. And right after that first ever official address, member states and every other international partner who were part of this, they saw the need. It was just a work done by a number of international acts to bring the battle to the finishing line. So I have to give it up to people who started this work. And to the fact that at the end of it, Security Council unanimously adopted Resolution 2250 that today we are using as an instrument is something I always say I'm honored and I'm really grateful to play a little part for that historical journey. And I just want to encourage you. I know what you're trying to do. I'll link it more to what we are doing as well. I know I can talk about a whole deal about what Messengers of Peace is doing, but I think I want to go into the essence of why you even want me to talk and inspire you for the project and things you're going to work on. And that has to do with the whole COVID initiative and how young people, we are responders, especially from local, national, and as well global levels around this entire pandemic. So Messengers of Peace work, as a matter of fact, I co-chair the Liberia National Youth Taskforce against COVID. So this was a platform that was set up by the Ministry of Youth and Sports. The Ministry of Youth and Sports of the Republic of Liberia set up this Liberia National Youth Taskforce to allow major youth organizations in the country to also do something meaningful around this pandemic. That young people, it comes back again to Resolution 2250, Resolution 2419, and as well 2535, that is calling for the meaningful and active involvement of young people in peace, security, and development issues. So we said we are not just there to just be, to take the back seat. We can as well be drivers, and we do this together as co-pilots and also be able to help with this whole global pandemic. And I can tell you as we speak, because of the involvement as well of young people, and usually young people don't get to take the headlines for these things that they do. Meaning if we talk about all of these great achievements happening in countries at local levels and national levels, we don't always get to hear the stories of what young people are doing. We always give credit, actually, maybe it would be to politicians or to other people. That is okay, don't get me wrong. If they are doing something, we should be able to commend them for those good things they're doing. But most of the times, we always see the real peace messengers or agents of change are indeed young people. Young people should be the ones celebrated. Look at what you are coming up to do. Fantastic initiative. I went to your website and reading about the things you guys are doing around COVID and everything around mental health. We actually have a mental health program here at Messengers of Peace. And what we do with that mental health program is something that came about because of the same pandemic. We thought it wise, and we're working with all of these young people. It's not just for them to be involved in the normal outreach programs, providing all of the different tips and tricks and education around COVID, but how do we also take care? We can't talk about peace building if we do not look at it from a psychosocial approach as well. That is not the way we see peace. Because peace building is something I always tell people, it is personal. And how is that personal if you're not taking care as well of the psychosocial side of people? And so what we do, we have this support group since the COVID. So on Fridays, people come over to Messengers of Peace. Young people, it is open to young people across the country, especially people who nearby within our capital that can be able to come over to Messengers of Peace office. And we just have a time to just talk. What are those things bothering young people? Especially during this time where there's lockdown and everything that's been happening. There's too much tension. There's too much issues young people facing. and we just have a time to talk. And this is something we do where we have a moment for sharing. We go around the cycle and we do that in a cycle process. And the essence of the cycle process is to say, you are not alone, you are supported. Because when you look left and you look right and you look ahead of you, you see someone sitting right there next to you. It's a way for you to feel like, I am not alone through this. Someone will be right there to grab you and hold your hand. So we always make use of all these different strategies and methodology that we put in place around our peace building work as well. So when we do that, we get stories coming up for young people about how, our support group is really helping them, just a moment to talk. I tell people really don't need you to give them huge amount of money. People just need you to be there for them. And that is important. If you can just be able to say, hey, I got you. Hey, I'm here for you. I don't have all of the solution, but people just want to know that someone really cares. And that is really important. So what you are about to work on, you might not realize of how it's going to contribute. So in terms, even from the global perspective, where there's a kind of resource center, linking up people, and especially since it's a hub process as well you're running, where people can be able to tap into, share experiences, and as well connect people to know what other things happening in different parts of the world through your initiative is something I'm just going to encourage you. It's going to start now with people not taking it.
Thank you so much, Gwen. You've just paused a moment.
Maybe to be all that fantastic, but trust me, as you go on and how consistent you are with this, it's going to speak a lot of volume to the rest of the entire group. Hi, can you hear me?
We can again.
Hello?
Can again. Gwen,
can you hear me?
We can hear you again, Gwen.
I'm really sorry. It's network problem. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No worry. We're all used to it. And I think it was the byword of last year is the network problem. But what you've been saying, and it's maybe a time to pause for a moment and reflect. I mean, there's a lot of powerful momentum occurring in Liberia through the peace messages. And it's also fascinating to hear that you've had an agile response to COVID, thinking about the psychosocial matters. And as much as I want to ask a question myself, I'm going to pause because I think it's important to open it up to everybody else on the call. Does anybody have a question about Gwen's work or want to feed back to anything that she's mentioned? Please do turn your mic on. And
I have a question. So you said you started with just about 10 people. How did you empower them? How did you what did you do to make it, I don't know, to get the message out more for people to be aware about the initiatives and stuff that you're doing? What tactics or moves did you do to get to that level?
Okay, so I'll tell you first, outreach, community outreach and engagement. So meaning we don't wait for young people to come to us. My kind of approach, because mind you, I always say this on any platform I'm on. Besides everything you hear about all the acolytes and everything that you probably hear and read about Gwendolyn, I'm actually driven by faith. My entire journey is centered around my faith. I'm somebody who deeply rooted in my faith. And I do believe that whatever I do, no matter the obstacles and the challenges, faith breaks barriers. So no matter what comes my way, I'm able to find myself because of that I'm driven by. And I like to always say, that's why my entire journey is going with a hashtag, by faith she leads. So that everyone who follows me from a social media standpoint, that is how they connect to me. Whenever you just say by faith she leads, people know you're talking about Gwen. Because my entire journey and inspiration is guided by my faith. With that, there's nothing that can stand before me. If it's not what God wants me to do, I won't do it. If he wants me to do it, there is some intervention that will take place. I just need to apply the work. I just need to do it and everything will fall into place. So now to answer your question, I really wanted to say that because whatever, even if it's at the United Nations, the African Union, I stand there and tell an entire global community, don't just see me, everything I do is guided by my faith. So now to your question in terms of how the strategy. So I'll tell you community engagement. We go from community to community, sensitizing, encouraging young people using my own personal story. So I'll tell you storytelling is a very powerful tool in terms of mobilization and outreach. And I'm not going to go into that, but it's a 13-year-old young woman who was actually born during the heat of a Liberian civil crisis, and her mother could not afford a blanket to wrap her in as a baby. And that child who came into this world not having a blanket, and the midwife had to give my mother one of her spare dresses to wrap me in, it is that same child today that is globetrotting and meeting with different presidents and CEOs. Is an inspiration to any young woman to be able to say, I too want to be somebody. Because it is not about your background. It is not about how your orientation of your upbringing. If you want to make a change, you could actually be the one that will be used to change a whole narrative of your family. God is helping me to do that. It's not about the background anymore. I'm changing the whole narrative of an entire family through what God is doing through me. And in terms of being persistent, and you asked about another strategy. When you start something, I said it to you, people take it for granted. A lot of young people who didn't buy into it. But because of the consistency, and every time they get to see you before them, and different inspirational messages about the work you do, and another powerful tool is the social media. We shouldn't ignore that. That's what I was telling to you about this program. You see the things we just put onto the digital world like that, it's so powerful. It either make you or it break you. I always say that to people, yeah? So social media and the digital world can actually help to improve and enhance your growth, but it also can be used to damage you as well. But it depends how you're using it. And that's why we need to be very strategic how we make use of the digital world. Many. And that is one thing I can't sit here and not tell you how powerful that was to mobilizing people. People who followed my platforms, the different social media channels, there are young people as we speak. We have up to even 500 plus young people still waiting to be volunteer for Messengers of Peace through our recruitment process. So every time they follow and they get inspired, young people easily take on to people that they see as role models. How you conduct yourself, how you carry yourself, it either win them over to you or they just disconnect them. So these are all the strategies we've been able to use that get us the amount of volunteers we've been able to get. Using storytelling, and as well success stories from other young people who from different communities. Esther, so there's not just Gwendolyn. There are young people now who we brought over to the work because communities to see them as people who they can also emulate. They also share their stories to win other young people over from their own communities. And we do that through that kind of process of going from place to place, using the very same volunteers to share their stories and win more young people over. So it's just a whole process and a journey by itself we're on. And we're doing this together for teamwork.
Many thanks, Gwen. Thank you so much. I think in emphasizing the points of storytelling and also the consistency and level of engagement you follow through on when you are doing campaigning work to spread awareness and also to raise engagement in the process. I know that time is tight and I just wanted to leave it open. If anybody else wanted to ask a question at this point, please do put your mic on and hand it to you.
So you touched on the idea of being a role model to people that are going to be, I guess, engaging with our media. Have you got any tips on how to develop like a digital platform to put out that we are role models or are aspiring to be, but we're still not this perfect human that knows all the answers? Have you got any ideas for how to come across, I guess, not endearing, not feeling like, because you can get some role models on Instagram and whatnot that make you feel like you're less than them, which is, of course, absolutely not what we want to do. We're here to build inclusivity and stuff. So have you got any tips on how to do that?
Okay, so I really understand where you're coming from. And I think people want to know if you are there. The thing about communication strategy as well, I always tell people, that when people write to you, imagine you probably would just do a post or a tweet and something. People want to know if someone is at the other end, ready to engage with them. A person cannot come and comment on your post. Take, for example, probably you post this picture, like you saw what we posted from this. At the end of the day, volunteers will go back and comment people, oh, thank you, show gratitude, thank you for doing this. It takes time, but you have to be there to build that audience. So somebody cannot come and comment and say, oh, good job, and you just leave it like that. Come on, that's what you're talking about, Instagram and social media celebrities, because we see it as people are just there to follow us, and we are not there to also make sure to tell them we are real people. So we should also be there to say, hey, you're writing all these nice things, I see you, and I'm here. And sometimes when I engage with other people, personalities, they tell me, Gwen, how do you do it? Do you really have the time to do that? And then I ask them, what makes you think somebody would take upon their time to write to you and commend you? Are you paying them to do that? So if you don't have the time to make for the people, why are you even there posting those things for them? Even if it's just once in a while, you will come and comment, even do a general comment or a post to say thank you to everybody for all these comments, you should try to do that. Even if it's just the like button, you would just use as a way to acknowledge. That like button is a way to say, I see what you wrote to me. That love button is a way to say, I can see what you're doing with me. It's a way people feel appreciated. It comes back to this personal approach in this work we want to do. But if you just see yourself as this top star, you are just there rocking and everybody else should be following you. Yes, I understand people do that. People get moved and follow people. I'm not going to tell you the people that follow are not real people. But trust me, if we want the kind of impact we want, we should actually be there to make people know that we are here too for them, and not just the celebrity part of it for people to just be following us. We need to make people be aware that we are there. So if you ask me, I'll tell you, start to share the stories, start to profile your team, create a platform for you on social media. Everybody working in your team, they don't have to write all of the different big accolades and everything. I like the way you're saying it. Trust me, you are unique. You just probably don't realize each of us, we are unique in our own way. You might say something is not as inspiring, that's what you think, but you don't know the person who's reading it. Something about you would inspire somebody. So try to profile the rest of your team that are working on this. Start today, do a social media blaze. This week, post somebody up. The next week, profile join. The next week, profile Becca. The next week, do it and create that momentum about what you're doing. Meet the team. You probably can do a whole social media campaign, meet the team. I'm just giving you something. We have something called Meet the Leaders. So whatever way you want to make it catchy, where people can be able to say, oh, what are they talking? Because it's also about the strategy you asked about, Toby, like, what is it that moves people? It's just something that you put up there that is like a spike, but it's something that can also actually engage people. So you need to be able to discuss that as a team and play around those words that you actually can use. We have different strategies in messengers of peace that we use to just win people over to our social media platform. And when they come, we are there to make sure we respond to them. That is the essence of it. It's a two-way street. It's not just people talking to you and they don't know who they're talking to.
Wonderful, Gwen. I remember when you said we met earlier, and I asked you when we probably a year or so into knowing you, I said, how do you keep people engaged? And you said you respond to every single message directly. And I was like, that's very time consuming, but it is inspirational. And I'm sure we can all take a lot from what you said. And I don't want to take any more of your time up, Gwen, because I know you've got a packed agenda. And I think just taking this opportunity to, again, thank you for attending. I find it fascinating to learn what's going on with your work and how you're able to promote this activism. So it's a real pleasure and, as always, an inspiration. I'm just going to leave it open if anybody wants to just say thank you to Gwen, and for Gwen, for you to say anything else, just to close off.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to us. It's been really, really interesting and really inspiring as well.
Thank you as well. Like, I got a lot of tips from you, so we're gonna try and implement it in our projects that we're doing. Thanks.
I think you're very inspiring from what you've done, and I'm humbled that I'm able to hear what you've said about all your experiences and everything. So thank you for that as well.
Yeah, I also wanted to say thank you. Like, it's always inspiring to meet people that actually make a change and like make a real impact. So like that's really impressive, and I feel like we have a lot to learn from you. And if we could do one of these again, it would be really nice. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I want to echo what everyone's just said. I think you're a really powerful speaker. I feel very inspired by everyone else. I think if we had another one of these like halfway through, if you flag at any point, it would be enough to drive us forward again. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, so thank you. Thank you for allowing me to share your space. And it's equally important to me as well, because that's the essence of networking and partnerships. So you never know, and I'm open. I mean, I know Theo like always find his way around getting me. It's like, I love to do it, but it's just sometimes it's like too many things. So preparing for different speaking events is always crazy, but please, I'm here. If there's anything, like you said, to do this again, I will be happy, probably even to just look at, if it's probably on social media that we look at, if it's probably on community mobilization, if it's maybe about probably we say, how do you get people, convincing people in power to believe into what you're doing? Maybe it's something else we can be able to do, and I'll be happy. But at least that time it's not going to be 5-10 minutes thing, and then we just sit there and ask all of the questions you want to ask about how we do it, because these things, they are tips and tricks. You have to know the tips and the tricks. So I'm really happy to do this, and thank you for having me. Let's stay in touch.
Thank you so much, Gwen. Pleasure as always, and wishing you a very pleasant evening, rest, and I hope you enjoy your national holiday now as well.
We'll try. Okay.